Welcome to Podkey Daily News, your fast brief on the biggest moves shaping today. The biggest pressure points today are easy to spot. A choke point for global shipping, a warning sign in Ukraine's air defenses, a consequential Justice Department confirmation, and markets sprinting on the idea that rates may stay put. Iran has sharpened its conditions for fully reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran now ties that step to war reparations, sanctions relief, a full U.S. military withdrawal from the region, and an immediate end to what it calls the U.S. blockade. What matters here is leverage. Iran appears to believe the strait staying effectively closed gives it room to harden terms, especially after President Trump reportedly threatened extreme action multiple times and then backed off. One thing to watch is the Iran-Oman shipping route that was once condemned and now appears to have U.S. backing. That looks like a possible political off-ramp if a full reopening remains stalled. Ukraine says its defenses failed to shoot down any Russian missiles in the latest strike, a stark signal of strain in its air shield. The attack killed a 3-year-old boy and his grandparents and injured several others. Kyiv is urgently asking for more U.S. Patriot interceptors, and Zelensky has been pressing Germany, Poland, Japan, and South Korea for support, while also trying to widen diplomatic ties in Serbia. Serbia offered supportive statements and discussed trade, but President Aleksandar Vučić did not shift policy toward Moscow. At the same time, Ukraine is intensifying long-range drone strikes on Russian oil refineries and supply sites, so the near-term picture is a worsening exchange of pressure. Russia hitting cities, Ukraine hitting logistics. Todd Blanche was confirmed as Attorney General by a 50-49 Senate vote, and the narrow margin tells you a lot about how contested this is going to be from day one. Critics are warning that his tenure could become a test of whether the Justice Department remains independent or gets used against political opponents. His past handling of the Epstein files is also back in focus. 2 Republicans, Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, voted no. Bill Cassidy of Louisiana supplied the decisive vote while saying Blanche is imperfect. The confirmation lands amid a broader Senate fight over Russia sanctions, tariff authority, and stalled election measures with midterm pressure building. In British Columbia, a wildfire reportedly exploded from about 50 hectares to roughly 9,500 hectares within hours, about the size of Paris. A state of emergency was declared and more than 20,000 people were forced to evacuate. The practical lesson is blunt. Fires are moving faster than many emergency plans. Rural evacuations are especially hard because people are not just deciding what documents to grab, they are deciding whether they can move livestock, horses, and other animals in time. That gap in planning is becoming a bigger issue as fires grow more intense and less predictable. Stocks rallied hard after a weak jobs report because investors read it as lowering the odds of further Federal Reserve rate hikes. The Nasdaq jumped about 5.2%. The S&P 500 gained roughly 3.6% to a record high, and the Dow rose nearly 3% and moved past 54,000 for the first time. Earnings helped too. Disney climbed about 9% on strong theme park attendance and $1 billion Toy Story 5 box office. Amgen lifted guidance, and Caterpillar posted its first quarterly revenue above $20 billion, citing demand that includes AI-related infrastructure investment. In the AI trade, dominance still matters more than nuance. NVIDIA gained more than 11% and stayed a market favorite, while AMD fell about 7% after Elon Musk said SpaceX would stop buying AMD chips in favor of NVIDIA. SpaceX itself reported $7.8 billion in quarterly revenue, nearly double from a year earlier, but its stock initially dropped more than 13% because investors fixated on heavy capital spending and $15.8 billion devoted to AI projects. It then rebounded 23% as retail investors bought the dip aggressively. The next thing to watch is share supply, because a post-IPO lockup could release as many as 912 million additional shares. Private prison companies are still posting strong gains even after a partial shutdown reduced immigration detentions. Geo Group said revenue rose about 15% to more than $730 million, and CoreCivic said revenue rose more than 27% to over $680 million. The bigger story is that these firms are no longer relying only on detention beds. They are expanding into ankle monitoring, deportation flights and transport, pharmacy services, and property deals that let them sell facilities while still operating them. That broadens the business model and deepens policy dependence. It also sharpens conflict of interest concerns because of personnel ties between the industry and government officials, plus scrutiny of stock trades after Trump's return. Documents in the Anthropic copyright case show AI companies and their intermediaries have been buying obscure physical books, scanning them for training data, and destroying the originals. A court has recently found that approach to be fair use in at least one instance, which matters because some of the most useful training material may be commercially worthless books that were never properly digitized in the first place. That puts a sharper edge on the AI supply chain story alongside energy and water use. There is now a clearer picture of AI extracting value from scarce and often neglected cultural materials. In Japan, more than half of men now take paternity leave, a major cultural change in a country where many fathers once feared career damage for doing it. Policy helped. Japan allows up to 12 months of paid parental leave for fathers, and disclosure of male leave-taking rates has made companies easier to compare and pressure. Why it matters is that this is moving from paperwork to norms. Fathers who take leave say early childcare changes how they see their role, which pushes against the old breadwinner-only model. A baby named Theo Savage became only the third in the world to receive in-womb surgery for intestines developing outside the body. Surgeons in Texas say the approach may reduce long neonatal intensive care stays and multiple operations after birth. The mother recovered and was able to give birth naturally. The family traveled from London, accepting serious uncertainty for even a small chance of a better start. The early signals are encouraging, but final trial outcomes are still pending, so this remains pioneering medicine rather than settled practice. That's the brief for now. Thanks for listening to Podkey Daily News. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.